I was scrolling on Instagram today, and I follow, of course, the DAZN Boxing and the MF DAZN Boxing series page, just because I like to be updated on the influencer boxing scene. I think it's an interesting type of concept that has brought a lot to the combat sports world. But then I see shit like this, and I begin to wonder if I'm smoking crack. Like if I'm really, really just off the mark here with how effective or how really skilled or how much of a roof or a ceiling these types of promotions can have. So for the uninitiated, this is Dillon Dannis. He's going to be fighting KSI. I think it's January 14th. He released, and of course, you know, everyone does, it's the zone way of just kind of hyping up a fight. They'll release little sparring clips, right? So you can see all the fighters preparing for all the different events, and it's a cool way to kind of just like build up to the fights. But I don't know really who thought it would be a good idea to post this clip. We'll get into it in a second. It's, boy, is it rocky.
There it is, double jab. 2. Good, body shot right here. Yep, you did it. Go. Double jab. Go this way.
So when I first saw this clip, I thought to myself, boy, does this sparring look bad. Now, for those that don't know, Dillon Dannis was a professional mixed martial artist. He's primarily known for the martial art known as jiu-jitsu, or the martial art discipline known as jiu-jitsu. So he's much more of a grappler than a striker. For whatever reason, it was decided that he was going to fight KSI next. He went on Ariel Helwani's show, and he said he originally had wanted to sign to fight Logan Paul. I really don't know who thought it would be a good idea for this guy to be able to fight either of those guys with the amount of clout that they have. This guy is much more well known in the MMA and the combat sports community, but not really well known in terms of just widespread public awareness like a KSI or like a Logan Paul. So on that level, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And then if you talk about just the display of striking that we saw in this video, which is probably emblematic of his skill level, or at least his effort coming into this fight. I saw him saying somewhere that it was a pretty big bag to take this fight, to accept it, and that's why he's accepting it. So I really just don't know why this fight has to be. And I think rather than discussing Dillon Dannis as a fighter or as a guy, or to try to pontificate on why he might have taken this fight, I think this could be a really, really great way to open up the dialogue into where influencer boxing is going with this. So again, I've paid a lot of attention to the MF or the DAZN, Misfits Boxing series. I gotta be honest, it seems a little bit top heavy in terms of talent, in that there's like 3 or 4 guys that I would actually watch in terms of tuning into a pay-per-view. I would never pay for it, but I illegally stream it. That's KSI, Logan Paul, I think Salt Poppy, and then there's this other guy, Slim, that he's right there, Slim, that I would definitely pay to watch because he's just very entertaining as a fighter. Besides that, I mean, let's look at some of these other ones, right? You've got Ordway versus Brook. I have no idea who either of those people are. We've got who else? I mean, it's mostly Deji and KSI clips, and that's, again, to be expected. Who's next for this guy? I have no clue who this guy is. How would I know who's next for that guy? I don't know who he fought, right? Who's this guy? That's Greg Hardy. He beat his wife, and he was in the UFC. So I guess there's one. Hasim Rahman Jr. is another one. Maybe I'm giving it a little bit less credit than it's owed, but all these people right here, I have really no clue who they are. And then I guess there's Deji too. But my point is, it's very top heavy. And so a lot of these events, I think the main issue they're going to run into with these early events is finding top tier talent that people are going to want to tune in to watch. And it's not an insurmountable challenge. It's just something that they're going to have to kind of really work their way around. Now, if you want to have a discussion about getting KSI at top billing on the card, or Logan on top billing on the card, or even Jake Paul's doing his own thing, but like Deji at the top billing of the card, anyone that's really of note that can kind of cross over into this community, and then just kind of like praying that people will watch the rest of the card. I mean, talk about that being a strategy. Maybe that's something that they employ, but the way that I see, and just to make a roundabout point, the way that I see them going about it, with these events, and even with this video of Mr. Dillon Dannis sparring here, I think the way they're going about it is they're trying to grab more so guys with clout than guys with real talent or skill level. And my only concern, just again broadening the conversation around these things, is that we shouldn't look for guys like this that really, I mean, I'm going to be blatantly honest, and I actually know this guy's striking coach. He's a very good dude. This guy can't box well. This guy can't box well, and I hope that the striking coach, because the striking coach he has is fantastic, phenomenal, has trained some of the guys that I've commentated over. I'm hoping that his Muay Thai coach can get him over the hill here. I don't know why we're going for guys like this to headline big cards against KSI. It really, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You should combine the top guys that also have the most amount of skill with each other to fight. Now, again, if you want to make the point that, okay, yeah, there's going to be some guys that are a little bit more skilled that have less clout, or there's going to be guys with less skill that have more clout, and then that's just something you're going to run into, sure, fine. But getting a guy in Dillon Dannis, someone that's freely and openly admitted that he took this fight for the money, is this going to hurt the credibility of influencer boxing? And this is coming from a guy that wants it to do well. You can see from all the comments here, how did he train with McGregor for so long and he still can't strike for shit? Is this his first boxing lesson? Don't know who this guy is, but he can't box. Yep, he's getting destroyed. I mean, if you look at this footage, and I get that it's one clip, right? And there's been other sparring footage out there, but from this specific sparring clip, it looks like an influencer that took a cardio kickboxing class. It doesn't look like he's very mobile. He doesn't move his feet well with his shots. He's probably going to get tagged a lot. He doesn't really keep his chin down. He's doing a good job of keeping his other hand up near his head when he throws, but that's about the only kind of good thing, or the only bit of positivity that I can extend towards this video. So I don't know. It just seems like perhaps DAZN or the Misfit series is making this mistake of trying to get in guys that have a little bit more clout than skill. And I think any good combat sports promotion, all of them have had to go through, you talk about the UFC, you talk about Bellator, UFC was on like Spike TV for a while. They've all had to go through that transitional period where they don't have necessarily the most amount of draw in their talent. I mean, guys are still talented, but nobody really knows about them at first. And that's every promotion has to go through that. And so maybe it's this interesting thing where influencer boxing, hence the name, doesn't have to go through that because they're already influencers, but I just don't think we should let it get too out of line here. I've said in the past also, I don't think that influencer boxing should be considered in the same realm as regular boxing, obviously, but if it is under the auspices of boxing, and while I do believe that there is some sort of charm to the gladiatorial type of more spectacle aspect to this type of boxing, there should be still some respect for the base sport. I don't think guys like Dillon Dannis that have been, quite frankly, inactive for such a long time, I don't think they should just be allowed to waltz in after they've had like 4 street fights with MMA fighters. Just waltz in and be able to put on boxing gloves and fight KSI. I'll give you an equivalency. I don't think the number 15 ranked featherweight in the world should just be able to go and fight Alexander Volkanovski because he has a verified blue check on Instagram. And that's the vibe I'm getting from the MF series or the Misfits boxing series, and kind of DAZN as a whole now is like, it's less so about the sport and more so about the spectacle. And you don't want that, because then your promotion just basically turns to WWE. Well, guys, that's been my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I've been your boy, Jakey the Jewish Owl, and of course, the soundboard guy, Jacob Koopman, and I'll see you guys in the next one.